Hello, everyone, and welcome to EVTN News. Today is Sunday instead of Monday, but it's very snowy outside and very cold, as you can tell. So we'll just get going here. And I've also not covered stories for like 2 weeks. So long overdue on that. Pretty, pretty late notification on my end, but hopefully you'll be able to catch the live stream, and if not, catch the stream after the fact. Got a lot of stuff to cover though, so let's get right into it. The Archdiocese of Madrid, Spain, promotes the so-called convivium process, an official diocesan consultation involving clergy, parishes, religious communities, and lay groups in Madrid, Spain. According to Info Vaticana, the process was developed through consultation phases in 2024 and 25 and is comparable with the German Synod. The Archdiocese of Madrid is currently led by pro-LMNOP Cardinal Jose Cobo. The Archdiocesan synthesis includes a subsection called Peculiar Proposals. It says, "We believe that the imposition of celibacy on priests and future women priests is an unjust and anti-evangelical law that produces victims and contributes to a dominant clericalism that creates inequality in the community. We believe that freely chosen celibacy can help priests to be closer to social realities. We propose the possibility of a temporary priesthood, not for a lifetime. Both lay people and religious pass through different stages of life." So they hinted at future women priests, which isn't going to happen, and optional celibacy, temporary priesthood. No. No, that's heretical. That's Protestant. So, yeah, enough of that. I don't know. I know that's what the modernists want, but I don't know. I don't think that will ever happen, even with this modernist hierarchy. I don't expect that to happen, but if it does, then they're a false sect, and we'll have to elect our own, we have to elect our own pope, if a pope allows that. The bishops certainly would forfeit their authority. Okay. Bishop Athanasius Schneider discussed his conversation with Pope Leo regarding the Latin Mass. He said, I would suggest, and I made the Holy Father the proposal when I met him, to do a more solemn document than a motu proprio. So he met with Pope Leo just not that long ago, maybe a few months ago. He said Benedict XVI did a motu proprio and Francis did an anti-motu proprio. So I think it would not be so fitting to do again an anti-motu proprio against Francis, but simply a more solemn document. According to Schneider, an apostolic constitution promulgated by the Pope would stand above a motu proprio in the hierarchy of the pontifical legislation and could therefore introduce a new legal framework governing the celebration of the traditional Roman rite. The stated purpose of such a document would be that he described as a solemn regularization of the traditional Latin Mass, guaranteeing full freedom for its celebration and ensuring what he called a peaceful coexistence between the traditional liturgy and the post-conciliar form, without limitations or impediments. He said a bishop cannot forbid the Novus Ordo, so the same principle should be done, that a bishop cannot limit or forbid the traditional form. If this would be established by a pontifical document, a bishop would no longer have the right to do any restriction to the Vetus Ordo Mass. So a lot of people are going to say, like, that's a pipe dream, whatever. But you know what? This Bishop Schneider actually talked to the Pope. So he's really the only one that's made this suggestion to the Pope. I mean, I'd be happy to make my suggestions, but the Pope doesn't really care what I have to say. I'm just a random lay guy. Bishop Schneider actually met with the Pope, and he actually suggested this. So I like it. I don't think it'll happen. In fact, if it does happen, I'll be shocked. But you know what? Good for him. Good for him for expressing expressing to the Pope that the need to end the persecution of the traditional Mass. So, not a bad thing. Okay, now there was a note at a recent consistory in the Vatican. Cardinal Marx intervened to express the hope of arriving very soon at the female diaconate. So again, there's more heretics pushing for heresy. And I don't think a female diaconate is coming anytime soon. It would be invalid, of course, but I think it's going to be women pseudo-deacons. If you've been watching this channel, that's sort of what you'd come to expect. Okay. Now the McCarrick Cardinals, the 3 McCarrick Cardinals released a joint statement just recently. It was McElroy of Washington, Supich of Chicago, and Tobin of Newark, New Jersey. All 3 are very compromised, and they all have deep ties to McCarrick. And this was a political statement. You can read the full thing in the description below, at the link in the description below if you want. Probably not worth your time, but one of the statements was, our country's moral role in confronting evil around the world, sustaining the right to life and human dignity, and supporting religious liberty are all under examination. They also talked about peace, anti-war. And I'm not a fan of getting involved in foreign conflicts. I'll just say that. But these guys, I mean, I don't really feel like they have anything good to say. So, you know what? I'm actually going to just click on this, and I'm going to read you a little bit more about what they have to say, because I'm going to show you a video clip here in a second of a little flashback, and you see if McElroy, you see if he's consistent or not. Okay, so they said, okay, I'm scrolling down. They talked about peace. The events in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Greenland have raised basic questions about use of military force and the meaning of peace. Okay. So, they're talking about peace, and peace is no longer sought as a gift and desirable good in itself. Okay. And let me find you this. There we go. And it wasn't that long ago, using force to violate the borders of others. Wasn't that long ago that McElroy...
Archbishop Kutsiak, for that, revealing the realities and the poignancy and the faith that are the centerpiece of what's going on in Ukraine. I, as one who has over the years pressed very strongly to bring nonviolence more to the heart of the tradition of the Church on War and Peace, recognize that this is an instance in which justice requires resistance. The reason I want to mention this is there is, with the dawn of the new House, there are rumblings of cutting the support to Ukraine from the United States. And that could be very ominous in terms of the continuity of the flow of weapons and support that is essential to convincing the Russians that they cannot succeed. So I would just urge the conference to make a very high priority to move quickly to preempt, in all the ways available to us, any movement in that direction on our national policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, and they all... Okay, so all the bishops applauded. That's nuts. So the pro-war bishops, so now they're anti-war. But what side do you stand on? Like, you know, pour endless money into Ukraine and fund them so that they can continue a war. Like, I don't know. So, I'm talking out of both sides of your mouth. Just whatever you can do to oppose the orange man, right? Okay. So, and speaking of that, there's a lot of e-priests that are spending a lot of time talking about politics, and man, I mean, if they would spend even just a portion of the time that they spend on Twitter with, you know, trying to grow their parishes, just imagine how big their parishes would be. But I mean, I don't know. I guess you got to spend endless amounts of time on Twitter. It's, you know, Twitter ministry for the priests, I guess. Okay. Following a request presented by the Superior General of the FSSP, Pope Leo received Father John Berg in a private audience at the Vatican last Monday, January 19th. He was appointed by Father Joseph Bissig, one of the founders of the FSSP, and current rector of Our Lady of Guadalupe Seminary in Nebraska. The cordial half-hour meeting, and this is from the FSSP, the cordial half-hour meeting was an opportunity to present the Holy Father in greater detail the foundation and history of the fraternity, as well as the various forms of apostolate that it has been offering to the faithful for almost 38 years. The proper law and charism that guide the sanctification of its members were recalled. The audience also provided an opportunity to evoke any misunderstandings and obstacles the fraternity encounters in certain places, probably from communist bishops, and to answer questions from the Supreme Pontiff. At the end of this meeting, Pope Leo gave his blessing, which he extended to all members of the fraternity. This could have been a discussion about the FSSP cons celebrating the Chrism Mass, which I've said before, just a pinch of incense, right? Some people on Twitter, conservatives, thought it's not a big deal. You know, the FSSP should just celebrate the Chrism Mass. Just do it if your bishop asks. It's not a big deal. Well, it's not a big deal to go against your constitutions. It's just a pinch of incense. It's not that big of a deal. Just think if Archbishop Lefebvre would have said that. Then we wouldn't have the Mass at all. The FSSP wouldn't exist. The Institute of Christ the King would still have faculties in the Archdiocese of Chicago, and they would say the Novus Ordo and not the Latin Mass. So that's where this is all going. I don't see any logic to that reason. Okay, to that reasoning. But remember, the FSSP recently had an apostolic visitation from the Vatican. Now, this was under Francis. Francis, you know, arranged for it. Or it was one of Francis's henchmen. And basically it was presented, let's see how we can help you. The FSSP is doing fine without Vatican intervention. The Vatican seems to wreck everything that they touch. It's like the opposite of King Midas. Everything you touch doesn't turn to gold. Everything you touch turns to trash. And you can see the numbers plummeting. But meanwhile, groups like the FSSP, you can see the numbers growing. Priests, lay people, sacraments. But see how the Vatican can help them. Because they're one of the few groups that actually don't need the Vatican's help. Well, no one needs the Vatican's help right now, but if the Vatican were concerned about the Catholic faith, then I think a lot of groups would reach out. Okay, this is, oh man. Okay, I don't even have notes for this. Pope Leo on January 19th appointed 19 people as consultors for the Dicastery for Interreligious Dialogue. These are completely in line with Francis's appointments. Emilce Kuda From the Pontifical Commission for Latin America in 2022, she criticized the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe versus Wade, warning that many Catholics confuse defense of life with defense of ideological positions. So she's anti-life. Monica Santamarina of the World Union of Catholic Women's Organizations, she advocates for expanded roles for women in church governance. In June 2023, Santamarina called for combating clericalism by increasing women's presence in seminaries and church leadership. Yeah, that'll work. Sister Mary Teresa Barron, in October 2024, she was a synod delegate, and she said the question women deacons should not be whether women can or can't be ordained. Yeah, it should be, but whether the Spirit is calling women, noting that some feel called to the priesthood or diaconate. And that would have been a perfect opportunity to tell them that they are heretics. And if you support that, so are you. Catherine Cornell of Boston College promotes religious pluralism, saying that Buddhist meditation and Hindu practices of yoga can help Christians live up to our own highest goals. So, okay. Oh, and there's a priest who asserts the Indian bishop's statement that God uses other religions as instruments for salvation. And, okay. So that's that. Okay. Interreligious dicastery. Well, what do you expect? All right, more bad appointments. Leo appointed Monsignor Carlo Roberto Maria Redeali, age 69 until now, Archbishop of Gorizia, Italy, as Secretary of the Dicastery for Clergy. In June 2017, in a small town in the Diocese of Gorizia, a leader of the Catholic Scout movement entered into an LMNOP civil union. The parish priest stated that as a consequence of this choice, he could no longer retain his role as a Catholic educator. Seems pretty straightforward. Archbishop Ray Daly intervened publicly to oppose the priest. The anti-Catholic slogans of the bishop were, "One must seek the grace present in every situation, not expect clear, abstract, immutable principles to solve every concrete case." False. Scripture and canon law do not always offer ready-made answers. The Church must listen first to lived experience under the guidance of the Spirit. In complex personal situations, Christians should seek not ideal perfection, but the best possible good here and now. Pastoral accompaniment should avoid easy judgments. Monsignor Redeali cited Cardinal Carlo Maria Martini and Pope Francis' Amoris Laetitia. It was reported in November 2018 that during a meeting of Italian bishops, Monsignor Redeali spoke against the Mass and the traditional Roman Rite. He asserted that the Missal of 1962 had been repealed by Paul VI and that therefore the papal decree Summorum Pontificum rested on erroneous legal premises. So, another anti-Catholic bishop appointed by Leo. Okay, moving on to Philadelphia. Father Thomas O'Donnell of the Epiphany of Our Lord Catholic Church in Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania, Archdiocese of Philadelphia, defended his decision to invite Father James Martin, S.J., to give a talk on his upcoming memoir at the parish, which is also Martin's native parish, on February 7th. So coming up pretty soon. The priest emphasized in an email to LifeSite News that he accepts and teaches the Church's teaching on sexuality and has reservations about Martin's numerous statements that have confused the faithful. However, he said, "We are hosting Father James Martin at Epiphany for a narrow and specific purpose, to seek about his upbringing in Plymouth Meeting, his roots at Epiphany as his home parish, in his new memoir," which is, it's not a biography. This is not an event on LMNOP issues, LMNOP marriage, or any contested moral questions. O'Donnell noted that Martin's talk was approved by the Archdiocese of Philadelphia with the explicit permission of Archbishop Nelson Perez and Father Philip Lochansky, the Vicar General and moderator of the Archdiocesan Curia, who was previously the executive director of Courage International, an apostolate that helps Catholics struggling with LMNOP inclinations. But meanwhile, he approved James Martin's talk. Not great. Not great. Okay. Cardinal Joseph Zen said he was deeply grateful for this month's extraordinary consistory while also claiming it was hijacked by the allies of late Pope Francis. He said, "I lean towards the conspiracy theory that this meeting was hijacked by Pope Francis's henchmen. They did their utmost to prevent the cardinals from voicing their opinions. Isn't this the exact opposite of Pope Leo's purpose in convening the consistory? Before the meeting began, the preacher from the Synod of Bishops delivered a homily to the cardinals." That may have been Radcliffe. Fernandez also distributed a document. Gretsch made a statement. Even though the liturgy was not discussed this time, Roche distributed a document. It seems that some are treating this consistory as a continuation of the Synod on Synodality. That's kind of the feeling I got, even though I wasn't there. Zen's full intervention at the consistory rebuked the entire synodal process as ironclad manipulation for taking away the bishop's authority by bypassing them in favor of the laity and for having a predetermined outcome. Again, that seems like what happened. He spoke for the entire 3 minutes allotted to him. He said, "After I spoke, it seemed like some people rolled their eyes at me, but both inside and outside the meeting, many traditionalist brothers and sisters expressed their appreciation for me." Sisters? I don't know. Were there reporters at the meeting? I don't know. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. But good on Cardinal Zen. You know, at least he's going down swinging. I mean, he could just kind of chill out and kind of just sit at home and mope about what's going on, but instead he stands up for the Catholic faith. So when it's all said and done, Cardinal Zen's done a lot for the church, especially recently, and his contributions will always be remembered, I believe. All right, so this is a parish in Detroit. I'm going to play this video for you. Do I have it up? Oh yeah, let me adjust the screen a little bit. Okay, make it a little bit bigger screen. And I'm going to play this video for you. This is from the Archdiocese of Detroit. So, remember, there's another bishop in the United States who's attacking traditional practices, reverent practices in the Novus Ordo. And that is Archbishop Weisenberger in Detroit. Now, he's not making headlines as much as Martin is in Charlotte, but Weisenberger has just as much hostility for reverence as Martin, and so he pressured all parishes to install a freestanding altar, Novus Ordo altar, rather than use the high altar for its intended purpose. So this priest will give you a dose of Vatican II here. Let's go.
Follow me just for a second. So this is the altar that was placed in the church after the Second Vatican Council. It is not a implanted altar. It's a movable altar because the Latin Mass used to be said here with great consistency. And those were wonderful days in this parish. But those days are now behind us. The Archbishop has reserved certain parishes where the traditional Latin Mass would be said.
Not for long, but those days are now behind us. Well, soon your parish will be behind you too.
Old St. Mary's is not one of them. But what do we do without abandoning our traditions? Well, of course,
you did abandon your tradition.
We maintain our beautiful traditional high altar where Christ is maintained. I don't have him there during these few days as I get ready for the installation of the new altar, because we don't want to be disrespectful to the Lord. So I have him back in the secondary tabernacle in the priest's sacristy. This is actually an altar on wheels. Most people don't know that. And so when we have the traditional Latin Mass, we'd wheel this altar out of here. Those days are now gone.
Why not? Why would you not just take it out completely? I mean, it doesn't belong there.
And we're going to bring in a beautiful replica, sort of a younger sister of this gorgeous traditional altar.
So how much money did you waste on that?
They will be identical. The altar in the middle of the sanctuary for the Mass of the Second Vatican Council, the ordinary form of the Mass that completely replicates the Masses of the catacombs and the earliest Masses after Christ ascended into heaven, will be set on a gorgeous altar right here. And that's going to be brought in on Friday. And then on Sunday, Archbishop Weisenberger, my boss, your Archbishop, is going to dedicate this one.
Okay, so I guess that's the end of the video clip. But yeah, Weisenberger, so supposedly today, Weisenberger consecrated the Novus Ordo altar. Kind of pathetic, but pretty sad to see. And then this church, it's sad to see that this church is going to fail soon, as is the case for a lot of Novus Ordo parishes. I assume it's a very beautiful church. Take a look, Old St. Mary's in Detroit. I looked at photos online. I could probably... Oh, all right, give me a minute. If you insist, I'm going to take a look at photos for Old St. Mary's in Detroit. And let's see if we can get anything up here. I'm just going to... Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm glad I decided to show you. Let's see how I can do this. Share my screen. Yes. Okay. And let me get a better view here. There you go. Okay. Look at this. That's not really giving me a bigger view. But you can see, man, what a beautiful church. This was built for the Latin Mass. And of course you can see this. It was built for the Latin Mass. And you're destroying it with the Novus Ordo table. Wow. It'll be sold to the Muslims. Okay. Let's get to the comments here. What's this one? You can't get what you never asked for. Good for Bishop Schneider. Yeah, at least he asked. I mean, at least he had the meeting. I don't have the meeting, so I can't ask. I can write a letter, but you know what that does? Nothing. It just gets thrown away. I heard that Ukrainians are deserting in record numbers. Impossible to know if accurate. Yeah, there's just, I mean, the whole thing has just been a disinformation campaign, and no one knows the truth about anything. I mean, are they still fighting? I don't know. Who knows? No one knows. I didn't believe any of it. Something's happening. Just don't know what. Don't know who to believe. Okay. Okay, this has been it. I will get prepared. I already shoveled snow today. I'm in the middle of that mega snowstorm. And looks like it calmed down a little bit. Still snow falling. And then we're going to get really cold temperatures. Although depending on where you live, you might say, oh, it's nothing. But who knows? Okay, this has been EVTN News. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.